Hey, welcome in, everybody. Welcome to Sparta Fight Life. I'm Todd Romero, along with CEO of Sparta Sports and Entertainment, Jeff Cisneros, and our Director of Fight Operations and fighter, Vern Earwood. How you boys doing?
Doing good, Todd. We're happy to be here tonight. We had a great kickoff in January with our two shows, our 2 nights events. Looking forward to March 8th, AVM coming up, so we're super excited.
Jeff, talk about the first of the year. We got going with back-to-back cards. The first night, 9 out of 13 fights went the distance. We had Muay Thai, boxing in there. It was strikers only, but the second night in cage violence, 10 out of the 11 were finishes, and the one that didn't finish was a draw. Great fight.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was definitely a lot of violence on Saturday night. But Friday night's fights were just really good and competitive, too. And it was, just a great weekend. Great way to start the year with a lot of momentum. Yeah,
it was packed. Both nights were packed. And then coming up again, March 8th, the biggest event of the year for Sparta Sports Entertainment, AVM 16. And I know when you started this company, it was $500 that you had to spend out there. And now it's grown into this, and now you're at AVM 16. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And it's something that honors the men and women of our country that have served our country, or are serving our country. You always pick out somebody to kind of donate something to. It's a special night.
Yeah, it really is. It has a big place in my heart. We developed AVM because of a strained relationship with my father. And, he passed away a couple weeks ago. So this year is going to mean a lot more. And the event has just been spectacular. We've met such amazing people. It means so much to so many people, including myself. And many others. And it's one of those nights that doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. Like, we're just, 5,000 proud Americans in the building that night. And it's a special night.
Blue FCU Arena in Loveland is the site for AVM 16. It will be March 8th. And Vern, not only are you matchmaking as Director of Fight Operations, but you will be the main event. And you'll be 2 belts on the line. So a lot of stuff for you going on. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But you're going to be busy that day.
Absolutely. It'll definitely be a busy day. I've already been restricted by Jeff. He told me I can't run around and work that day, why I'm getting ready to fight. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about that a little later in the segment, and we're excited.
All right, well, let's talk about one of the first fights we want to touch upon. Dylan Ruane taking on David Serrano. There's a backstory here. Both of the men have knocked out Jordan Miles or finished him in the first round. Serrano did. The first one to fight him was Dylan Ruane, and I think it was right around minute 20 he knocked him out. So Dylan Ruane did a great job. Matter of fact, both of his fights have lasted about 2 minutes and 19 seconds combined. And then Serrano finished Miles the other night in our first event on the 18th. So what followed there, both fighters have really done a great job coming into the scene on Sparta. Serrano's 2-1, Ruane's 2-0.
Yeah, David Serrano is one of my favorite fighters, and he is just pure chaos and violence. Really, if you want to break it down, David has had 2 of the most vicious knockouts I've ever seen in Sparta history. One of them ended up winning Knockout of the Year, I believe, in 2023, and then he was a very strong candidate for 2024. But he is huge at 155 pounds. But, Dylan Ruane, Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. These 2 guys I don't think like each other very much, and it's very evident. When I saw that Vern had matched this, I was really excited because I was like, this is going to be violence, and don't blink. But the other thing is both guys are really, really tough and durable. So this could be a bloodbath for 3 rounds.
Yeah, it could. And Dylan Ruane, I think he walks around at 185, so he gets down to 55. He's a big kid as well.
Absolutely. Both of them are massive 155ers, especially on the amateur scene right now. Elimination or amateur fighters, a lot of them, whenever they're cutting weight, they don't understand, or many of them don't understand the intricacies of how to do it safely. But you got 2 massive guys that walk well above 170, that cut down to 155. They're looking in there, they're looking to make their statement. Both of them are very violent, very skilled. It's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, and thinking about that, as a matter of fact, when we had cage violence, Serrano finished Jordan Miles, and he had a little call out, but I don't know if he thought that Dylan Ruane was in the audience. Maybe he did. Here's a look at it.
I want to call out Dylan, Ronnie, whatever your last name is, fighter of the year. I'm next, brother. I am next. I hope you're watching this shit. I hope you're watching this because I'm coming for it. March, I want to fight you, bro. I want it.
Oh, shit. You're calling out Dylan. March 8th. You heard it. So David Serrano called out Dylan Ruane. Dylan is here tonight, so we brought him in. Dylan, what he said, you're number 1. He's number 1. He wants you. You're next. March 8th. What do you have to say?
He can get it any time. He got dropped by a guy submitted in the first round, so let's bring it.
March 8th, ladies and gentlemen, AVM's up in Loveland. Dylan, give me your thoughts.
You better fix that grappling before he steps in here with me, just saying.
All right, so Dylan, you were supposed to fight on this card. Obviously, stuff happened. So, knowing this now, I'm guessing camp's just gonna roll.
Camp's just gonna roll, and we're ready to take anybody's head off in this fucking room.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, there's your answer, David. Oh shit, here he is. All right, guys, March 8th, AVM's Loveland, Colorado. Get your tickets right now. SpartaSE.com.
So there you go. You get the call out and you get the answer all in one night. They kind of add a little flavor to the night.
Yeah, I always like the call outs, especially when somebody's in the building. I mean, he ran to that cage pretty fast. I was a little concerned that we may have gotten, could have escalated very fast that night.
Yeah, he was quick to the cage in his flannels. Kind of a hippie.
Yeah, he was definitely quick to the cage. He was standing in the back, kind of amongst his teammates. I kind of watched him walk around, and he heard the call out, and he just decided to kind of take it on his own heels and say, let me go down and get in the cage with David right now, And I mean, you gotta love that. You gotta love that intensity. It brings a whole lot more, not only to combat sports here in Colorado, but to these young fighters. But what's amazing is whenever that even early in their career, they're at that point where they know they can kind of call their shot. Yeah. Where they know, hey, I want the next one. You say you're number one, I'm number one. Let's get in there and find out.
Yeah, and Ruane, for a matter of fact, moved from Colorado Springs. He still trains the Springs a couple days a week, but he's with Genesis. Talk about another Genesis fighter that's going to be fighting for his second belt. Xavier Vasquez is going up to 205 pounds, and he's been special since he's come back and finished his wrestling career, really.
Yeah, Xavier's a special athlete, and, they've been telling me and Vern for months down there, wait till you get X on the card. I mean, he's been going with very high-level pros and giving them problems. This is going to be his last elimination fight before he goes pro, so he's looking to become a two-division champion, and, the guy's he's got quite the following.
Yeah, he's got all the talent in the world, and when you're getting daily going up against Grant Neal and those guys at Genesis, you're going to get your work in.
Absolutely. Whenever you're working with some of the best athletes and best coaches in the world, you know that you're going to be ready for whatever's put in front of you. Now, Xavier coming back, like you'd mentioned, off of his wrestling career in college, he's been on fire. He's finished everybody that's been put in front of him. Didn't finish Conway. Took Conway to, the distance to the judges. Still got that title. He just recently faced an undefeated fighter out of Jackson Wink out of Albuquerque. High-level training camp, some of the best coaches in the world down there. And he went out there and he kind of made it look a little bit pedestrian, a little bit easy. Yeah. So now he's got a big, strong kid bumping up a weight class to become a double champ at 205, taking on Rory Light, who's on fire himself.
What I love about it, I wanted to say about Xavier, is that he was going through incredibly difficult personal circumstances in the moment. And what we talked about is that moment, I mean, he could have pulled out of the fight, not fought, been completely respectable, and that would have been okay with what he was going through. But he used it as fuel. Yeah. And he went in there and he performed at a very high level against a very capable, undefeated fighter. That's championship mettle right there. That's championship grit. That showed us yet another aspect to Xavier's game that is going to make him very difficult to beat down the road.
And I know it affected his camp a little bit because it was the last 8 or 9 days of camp, coming in that last week area when things happened. So we got his head on straight, and when he got into the cage and locked the doors, he was ready to go. All right, 145-pound pro. It's the AVM title. It'll be David Evanson from the Army taking on Jared Ferreira, and you got to love the Army versus Marine Corps the matchups. That's why we do it.
Yeah, you absolutely got to love the true AVM fights. That's why we hold a separate title for those. It's for the military, it's like a bragging rights thing. It's like, I'm going to steal your flag before you steal mine. So you got two competitors, two combat veterans from their respective branches, the U.S. Army, the U.S. Marine Corps, getting in there to say, you know what, buddy, it's just me and you. We're locked in here. We're locked in this cage. Let's see who's taking home that title tonight.
It'll be great to see the fans, too, because they've come to love the Army versus Marines, and service members come to the fights. It's a great night.
Yeah, I mean, the passion and the energy in the building for AVMs it's just unmatched. It's unbelievable. And then the bragging rights, of the Army versus the Marines, and, who's going to win, who's going to take home the belt that night, and the bragging rights. And we have a lot of military groups that fly in every year for this. They have the reunion at the event. And so, like I said, there is no other event like AVM in the world, and we just love it so much. And the fights, I was telling Vern, if this can stick together, this by far on paper right now is the most stacked fight card we've ever had in Sparta history.
And right now, 28 fights. Is that about where you want to keep it, Vern?
The 28 fights, I mean, it's going to be a long day, a big fight day for us, but, the way that we run and control everything, it won't grow any larger.
Right.
I'll say that. You can always expect going into a fight week, especially in this region, that we're going to lose maybe 2 or 3 fights,
Yes.
Probably a week or 2 out. So ultimately, our number there is 24 to 25 fights, but if we roll into fight night with 28, so be it. They're going to be 28 great fights. It's going to be 28 fights that the fans came for, and we're going to be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for 28, so I'm all good for that. But let's go on to the movie. Let's move on. One of the things we introduced at the last card, actually at the end of the year, was Bareknuckle, which Vern got back into the cage and got his victory. So the second Bareknuckle on the fight, Jack Willoughby, 165 pro Bareknuckle against Junior Columbus making his debut. And we both know Junior.
Yeah, I know Junior very well. He's a very charismatic, outgoing guy, but make no mistake, he likes violence. And when I was talking to him about this opportunity and saying, hey, have you thought about bare knuckle boxing? He was like, I don't know. And then the next time I went in to get my hair cut, he was like, fuck it, sign me up. And so I told Vern, and he had the perfect candidate for him, perfect opponent with Jack Willoughby, who was always game to come and bang. And, they've been going back and forth a little bit too, and he's got Junior pretty fired up right now.
That's good. Talking about Jack, we were out here at the studio interviewing him a couple weeks ago. He's a guy that no matter what, win or lose, he's going to give you everything he has, and he's going to throw down.
Absolutely. Jack's going to show up. He's going to show up, he's going to make weight, and he's going to show out the best he can. That's always been Jack, is he'll get in there, he'll bang with anybody, he'll trade with anybody. Whenever he was offered this opportunity, because he really wanted to fight for Sparta again, really wanted to have an opportunity to bare knuckle again, so whenever we threw that out at him, he said, you know what? Fuck it. You fly me from Kentucky, I'm going to come back to Colorado, and I get to fight in front of the fans again? Let's rock and roll. And Junior was all about it. Like Jeff just said, I got to meet Junior. I got my haircut by him. And he was like, bro, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah, I think
they're excited.
I think he needs to have the barber as his nickname. The barber, because he cuts a lot of our hair. I've been there in the barber chair as well, but I want to make sure I get in there before the fight, just in case he's a little shaky come Monday.
Yeah, I mean, Junior's fun to watch, and like I said, he's very aggressive. He's built for this. I really believe that. I believe that he is built for bare knuckle boxing, and it's going to be an exciting fight.
So again, you're going to have boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, pretty much everything under the sun. Go to SpartaSC.com to get your tickets, or Sparta SC to get your pay-per-view. It's going to be a terrific night. Let's move on. It'll be Derek Munier at 170-pound MMA taking on Zarek Jackson.
Yeah, Zarek Jackson, he's been off the scene for a little while, but he'd reached out to us not long ago, reached out to Jeff, and then I've been in contact with him saying, guys, I'm ready to fight again. He's fought for Sparta in the past. Derek Munier has not, but Derek Munier is out of a very good camp. He is formerly out of Factory X, currently training with pound-for-pound Muay Thai right now. And you got 2 young, exciting, talented fighters that are ready to get in there and make their pro debut against each other.
When you take a look at that, and Munier coming up, Jeff, when you get a fight like this, and you get pro MMA, the card just is stacked what you talked about. The 28 fights now, we'll see if they all make it through. But this is one that I hope makes it through, because this should be a great one.
Yeah, Zarek is a stud. And even though he's been out of the competitive cage for a while, he never stopped training. So he was 5-0 as an amateur for us, and he had some very big victories. One of them being against Josh Cordova, who was 5-0 at the time. And Josh Cordova, let's not forget, he made quick work of Xavier Vasquez at Pepsi Center, to give you an idea of the level of athlete that Josh is. And so Zarek is very dynamic. His opponent's dynamic. I'm very excited to see how that fight, goes down.
I think that was Xavier's actually first fight, the only loss he had before he went off to wrestling. I think he was 18 or 19.
Yeah, he was very young. I think he was a sophomore.
Yeah, that's funny when you take a look at that. But the other part of that is, and I'll point to a fighter that we just saw take a belt not too long ago, our third event ago, and that's Zeke Lirez. He'd been out for a full year. You saw how he came back. So guys that have been out, sometimes they're working on things, getting better at what their craft was, and that sure worked for Lirez.
Absolutely. You got fighters like X and fighters like Zeke where, they come from the pedigree that they do. They come from a strong wrestling background, strong boxing background. And those guys, whenever they step out of the spotlight, it's not because they're not fighting anymore, not competing anymore. It's because they've got bigger goals. They've got higher mountains to climb. So they just get back to the grind. Yep. They come back. Zeke came back on the scene last year. He fought twice, won a title at the end of the year in an explosive fashion. He'll be back on another Sparta card coming up in April.
Yeah.
So we'll have him back. But yeah, him and X have been training partners for a long time, and they're both going to bring it this year.
Yeah, I wonder if Lira's got to be going pro soon. I think. Who knows? You don't know. Maybe you're keeping that under wraps and keeping things a little away from us. Another bare knuckle fight. So we're going to have Jesse Brookshire going up against Darian LaPierre. or Lupierre, how you say it, but it'll be a debut for Lupierre, but a great fighter.
Yeah, I love Darian as a human being first. He's got an amazing mission. He works with homeless kids and troubled kids, and
that's awesome.
and through a program. They were part of our shoe drive this year, and I got to see firsthand, like, he cares about these kids. He's a great mentor, and he's a great, he's got a great entrepreneurial mind as well, but he likes to give back. But he likes to get in there and bang a little bit too, and so this is a very interesting fight. I'm interested to see how this one goes down.
And the funny thing is when you talk about the backstories, there's so many backstories. You talked a little bit about X and what he went through to get through into the cage. Almost every one of these guys has a story. And Dylan Ruane, went through some things as well when he was younger. He's still only 21 years old. When I talk young, I think I got boxers that old. But you got a guy that's gone through some things. A lot of these guys have. And when they get to that point, and they get back in the ring, and they're guys that give and care, and then you go for a bare-knuckle brawl, and then, take the guy out for beer afterwards is kind of what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the fun thing about competition, though. You get to get in there, you get to beat each other up a little bit, and then, it's like I always tell my opponents, loser by his first round. You know, so that's what you got to do. Back to Darian Lupierre, he's an outstanding young man, like Jeff pointed out. Great young talent, likes to fight, bit of a technical fighter, but he can throw those things. He's had one bare-knuckle fight as an amateur. It's kind of a weird circumstance, but he knocked his opponent out. Knocked him out cold. There was no, let me lay it down and roll around. The kid was unconscious. He's getting in there with a game opponent in Jesse Brookshire. His last fight for Sparta, he finished his opponent very quick, won a title. And you've got two different styles, and this is where in combat sports they say styles make fights, is you got a technical fighter that's a little bit of a tactician that knows how to knock you out, but kind of looks to set you up. And then you got kind of a wild card like Brookshire, where he doesn't really have a certain game plan or a set style or anything like that. He's a bit of an unorthodox fighter, not being a southpaw, but he's just in there to swing and let's ride the lightning.
Yeah, so it should be a great fight. A lot of these guys on the card, kind of like Willoughby, he's just going to go out there and give everything he has. All right, that brings us to the main event that we're going to talk about. Two big boys getting in the ring and throwing down, and it's going to be our own Vern Earwood going at it against Fabian Salazar. Fabian's a big boy. It depends where he comes in at. I've seen him fight around both at 260 and 285, so Vern's got his work cut out. I'm hoping he comes in around 260.
Yeah, me too. He's very capable, lots of power, and no matter how big Vern's head is, that could make a big difference, right? But on a serious note, that's going to be a great fight. He's a Purple Heart recipient, combat veteran. Our own Vern is a combat veteran as well, and so this fight's going to be fireworks, and there's a lot of people that want to see it. It's going to, it always meets expectations. That's what I tell Vern from day one that I've ever seen him fight. You just see a ball of dust, and there's a lot of violence, and it's chaos, and so it's going to be good. All the way around. Get your popcorn ready is what I got to say. And, when he fought Bareknuckle in November, we told him dude, get off your fucking phone. Just go back. He's like, well, everybody's calling me. I'm like, just stop. Just go back
Get
there,
ready.
win, and then come back out, but he wanted to do it. He wanted to be, director of fight operations and do all the other bullshit he does and then go out there and fight, which I think is even more amazing about the performance that he laid down that night, because it's you guys see it from the back end.
Right.
Even here tonight, there's a whole, our production team's here. There's a lot of moving parts that goes into the event. So to be able to mentally focus and go in there and fight, but, Vern likes to fight, so.
If you try to explain to anybody, even setting up for Fight Life, and there's a lot of stuff that has to be right. And with a fight, you're all constantly on the go. Okay, how long did this fight take? Or the refs take it a little longer? Let's get to the next fight. Let's fill here. So there's a lot of stuff to do. So I think the suggestion would be, forward his phone to your phone. So every call that comes into him, or Jesse's.
No, that's Wyatt's now.
So that's what we'll do.
We'll
forward
Wyatt and Jeremy now are on that call.
So we'll make it unavailable for you to call anybody until after you fight. So when you got here, and you said this isn't a one-time shot, I think you told me that when we were doing the feature, the all-access piece for you. When did you decide it wasn't just going to be a one-time out there?
Well, I've been fighting for a long time, Todd. I've been fighting for 35 years that I've been in combat sports. And the last time that I had the chance to fight bare knuckle, it wasn't called bare knuckle fighting. It was called pit fighting, and it was down in Southern California. And back in those times, those are the back alley brawls. The Tank Abbott came up in that circuit.
Yep.
I was on the same circuit he was. And that was the last opportunity I had, because then everything started falling under sanctioning commission bodies. And I told Jeff years ago, I said, the day that we start to do bare knuckle, I'm going to fight again. I absolutely will fight. And he said, well, you're the one that gets to explain it to your wife, to Cheryl.
Right.
You know, because he didn't want any part of explaining to her that I said
No
I was going to
way.
fight. You know, so I mean, whenever we finally made that step, took that big boy step to say, hey, we're adding Bareknuckle, I told him, I spoke with Jesse, you know, his partner, I spoke with everybody, and I said, I'm going to be the first face we throw on a poster. Because people are going to know that. They're going to believe it. They're going to know it's real. Because I don't advertise something I'm not about. Like Jeff said, I like to fight. I just fucking like to fight. That's it. You know, my last fight, I felt obligated as director of fight operations to still do my job, run around, help everybody out, take calls. You know, this next one, there's a whole lot more on the line. I've got a great opponent in front of me, a tough guy, and Fabian, Purple Heart recipient, combat veteran, and you know, he's one of the men that I've met on the scene that I got the utmost respect for. And I know he's going to bring me a great fight, but at the end of the day, only one of us is walking out of there with a hand raised.
Yep, and it's 2 titles are on the line.
And Fabian, you're going to be buying me a shot afterwards.
There it is. Vern was saying, you know, the first one's got to buy, the loser buys. So we'll see. And I guess it would be the winner's choice of what you get, right? I mean, that should be whatever the winner wants. That's what he should get.
Only winners come home.
That's it, man.
That's it.
The others stay home. And I love to fight too. I just can't do it anymore, man. Just too old. The neck won't handle it, man.
Well,
I'd like it one time.
I mean, we would love that because I'm pretty sure everybody on the team would love to see you get your ass kicked.
Hey, dude, hey, listen, I've only lost one time, and that was 5th grade and Joe DiMatteo. He's about a year and a half older than me, so he knocked me out. Listen, AVM 16, it's going to be Blue FCU Arena, March 8th. Get your tickets now at SpartaSC.com. If you can't get to the arena, SpartaSC.com has your pay-per-view as well. I mean, this is going to be a great night for all the service industry, the servicemen and the servicewomen that have served our country and are still serving our country. We'll have the Marines fight the Army, Vern's in the main event. We've got guys calling each other out. It's going to be explosive. It's going to be exactly what Fight Life is all about. Thank you very much for Jeff Cisneros, the CEO, and Vern Earwood, our Director of Fight Operations and Fighter. I'm Todd Romero. We will see you March 8th for AVM 16. Sparta Sports and Entertainment presents the largest combat sports event in Colorado. AVM 16 is Saturday, March 8th at Blue FCU Arena in Loveland, Colorado. Join us as we honor those who serve or have served the U.S. military with a stacked fight card, including the return of bare-knuckle boxing, highlighted by a true Army versus Marines matchup featuring 2 combat veterans. This is Vern Earwood of the U.S. Marine Corps taking on Fabian Salazar representing the U.S. Army. They will be fighting for 2 titles, the inaugural Pro Heavyweight Bare Knuckle title, along with the AVM Heavyweight title. Also stepping into the ring will be Junior Columbus taking on the always game Jack Willoughby in a pro middleweight bare knuckle boxing match. AVM 16 will also feature a full array of combat sports, including MMA, kickboxing, boxing, and Muay Thai. Get your tickets and pay-per-view pre-orders now by scanning the QR code or visiting SpartaSC.com. March 8, AVM 16. Do not miss it.